A last minute shooting happening right now before Christmas, as somebody was apparently upset over something that happened in the mall that day, but we'll talk about what happened there and what the breaking news in. But unfortunately, we probably won't get any main news until Monday, so we'll talk about that. Plus, actually, a story that popped up just before this happened, which tells me that, hey, they might have been planning something here, so people were coming back and looking at this again. And my BS detector started to go off as soon as I saw the other article that posted 2 days ago. But we'll talk about that and what it means and, get you all depressed before Christmas, before we go back and try to cheer ourselves up with the rest of the news. And it's probably not going to work, by the way. In other news, the $1.7 trillion omnibus monstrosity passes the House in record time, with over 200 members voting by proxy. And it heads out to Biden's desk, which means it will pass and get done by midnight, and then our inflation is going to go through the roof. But we'll talk about that. Plus some new highlights that have been popping up here as well. So we'll discuss that, what it means, and where we go from there. Carolyn Ellison, the ex-girlfriend of Sam Bankman-Fried, was supposed to be facing 110 years in jail before she made a plea deal. Surprise, surprise that she got herself out of that, but we'll go over that and where we go from there. And a woman is arrested for praying across from an abortion clinic. And I'm going to say that the Britons get what they deserve. This happened in England. Because in the same breath, I also saw the edited lyrics of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, and, well, they're about what you think. It is going to be all this and more. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Because I'm a moron and my microphone was off. So, good evening, and let's see if I can do that monologue again. My name is Jay Edgar. Oh, holy night. The stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. O night divine. O night when Christ was born, that is right. And I noticed that Quest Fanning is watching here and probably just caught me on being muted, so he'll come back out and tell me that in just a moment as soon as we catch up to the stream here. But yeah, I caught that. I looked over, I'm like, why am I not filling up to the red? Oh, that's my audio bar, which I actually do need to drop that a little bit too. We are going a little bit louder than I want to be. There we go. Bring that down a little bit so I don't have to yell over them. Different headphones, so I don't get as much volume as I usually do. So yeah, we're off to a great start tonight, and I know I looked at this and I noted the fact I thought this was going to be a slow, easy night. We could spend some time going over some live chat, hear what you guys are saying, hear what you're thankful for, what you're doing with your families tomorrow, and then I realized that no, our elected betters can't behave themselves. The people that they put up to making big mass shootings can't help themselves, and our financial betters can't help themselves, and they're all going to be behaving badly, even this close to Christmas. So we'll talk about all this and more over here on Contemporary. I do think we might actually still be able to keep it a little bit on the short side tonight. I know that I want to get some rest here. Hopefully I can feel a little bit more awake in the morning here. For whatever reason, I did go to bed at normal time, 10, but I was up at 10 to 4 this morning with no rhyme or reason as to why. So I'm feeling it a little bit right now, plus, the bronchial plague has been going through where I work now too, so there is a 50-50 shot that I have that as well. I'm trying to suck down the vitamin C to make sure that I don't, but I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll get through all the stuff here over on Contemporary. Before we get started, make sure you go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, as we organize a network of people who are out here to bring you news, culture, video games, movies, music, etc. from the common man for the common man. That's right. People who've had to make some of the same decisions you do. Do I get a second job? Do I take a job doing an Uber so I can do the job that I want to do? Do I buy the house? Do I rent? Do I skip a bill or do I skip a meal? These kinds of people, and hopefully the people don't have to stay there for very long, but I know a lot of these people personally, and I know some of the struggles they've had to go through. But it looks like everybody's life is starting to turn out better, and I do hope that we can help bring you a better news organization. So go check out all those great people as we come and bring you a news experience from the common man for the common man. And let's get started into the finance. I was saying while I was muted before, I noted that I didn't have my microphone on, that I see Quest Fanning is here, and it's late at night on a holiday, which means I should probably watch my language. I've been slipping a little bit lately, but I should probably watch my language tonight because I'm sure Franny is listening, and I actually said Fanny when I first said it, so I'm glad he didn't actually hear that on air and run to correct me, but I caught it, I corrected myself, and then I saw the mic was muted. So with that, let's get into the news. Let's get started. Tell a friend, tell 10 friends, and let's actually get some people in here as well. And let's get started. Starting with the Dow, as we always do. On one of the last trading days of the year, the Dow did turn itself up. It started off in the red, but turned itself up a steady amount, bringing itself up 176.44 points, or about 0.5%, to 33,203.93, sticking around that stubborn 33,000 point line. Now again, if you come out to year to date, we're still about 10% down on the year, which, I mean, we've seen it go a lot worse this year, but I mean, this is nothing. This was not a year to write home about. As much as Biden tries to tell us the economy is great, everyone's pension is fine, and just stop asking questions, we did lose 10% on a lot of people's 401ks, unless they were invested in a way that was very aggressive and they had a lot of control over that they could change on a dime. A lot of people lost money this year, so I do hope that some of them are going to do better in the next year. I hope that I'm going to do better in the next year. I'm hoping to see a new studio here. By the way, a house that I've been looking at just dropped another 10 grand, and I think I'm going to go take a look at it between the holidays, if not after the new year. But we'll see what happens with that. Looking in at the Bitcoin, which had a very jagged day today, dipping and rising and dipping and rising again. It stayed relatively flat, losing 34.10 US dollars, 34 US dollars and 10 US cents, about 0.2%, about a fifth of a percent today, bringing itself down to 16,781.10. So I do think that some people are probably going to be getting some Bitcoin for Christmas. I think that's what's holding it up right now. But I know that the Christmas gifts, this is one of the more liquid assets that you can use to turn around. And if you do need to get some extra cash, now is the time to need extra cash, especially with gas coming back up and with Christmas presents out there that a lot of people have struggled to buy. We talked a bit about that yesterday. Speaking of gas, looking at gas again, looks like mostly unchanged in Madison. Actually, a little bit of a drop on the Isthmus. The Amoco dropping down to 266, and the Quick Trip entering the Isthmus, going from 280 to 266. But everything else is holding a little bit steady. Looks like a couple of the Quick Trips are actually dropping out as well. On the north side, we've got a 268. On the east side, we've got a 259. So it kind of depends on where you are, but we've got a moving average here, and the majority of the stations are staying the same. So that's what we see coming in to the holiday weekend when people are going to start traveling. So that's what we see for that. Let's see what IBD has to say for the day from Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones falls on inflation data. We won't be seeing futures now for until I think 6 o'clock on Christmas. And yes, they will be trading futures on Christmas. Tesla stock hits new low amid Elon Musk comments. From Scott Latonin. The Dow fell on Friday after the early release of November's personal consumption expenditures data. An inflation gauge watched closely by the Federal Reserve. Tesla stock reversed to lower to hit a new low after the chief executive Elon Musk said that he would not sell any more Tesla shares for at least 18 to 24 months, which is a little bit concerning right now, especially when it comes to revenue for Tesla. Early Friday, key inflation data arrived on the form of November personal consumption expenditures price index. The PCE price index came in cooler than expected, rising 0.1 in November versus economy estimates for 0.2 growth versus October. Year over year, the PCE price index rose 5.5. Matching estimates, personal income rose 0.4 in November, higher than estimates. Yeah, you're getting 0.4 again on your pay raise, and that's only some of you, by the way. That's an average across the board, but we're still looking at 7-8% interest or inflation. So, good job. Meanwhile, the core PCE price index came in hotter than expected, rising 4.7% year over year versus the 4.6% estimate. Tesla skidded more than 3% Friday after Musk's comments. Dow Jones tech leaders Apple and Microsoft traded lower after today's stock market open. MedPace, IBD leaderboard stock Neurocrine Biosciences, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Texas Roadhouse, as well as Dow names Amgen, Caterpillar, and Home Depot are among the top stocks to consider for investor watch lists. Keep in mind that the recent market weakness should keep investors on the defensive. Neurocrine and Texas Roadhouse are on the IBD leaderboard stocks. Caterpillar and MedPace were recent IBD stock of the day companies. On Dow today, we don't have futures yet. We will not until about, again, 6 p.m. on Sunday. After Friday's opening bell, heading into a 3-day weekend. Oh, so there won't be any trading on Monday, so no, we won't have futures on Sunday. The Dow moved down 0.2, while the S&P fell 0.3. The tech-heavy NASDAQ lost 0.7 in morning action. The bond market will close early on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Among the U.S. exchange-traded funds, the NASDAQ, Invesco QQQ Trust fell 0.7, and the SPDR S&P 500 moved down 0.4 early Friday. The 10-year yield ticked higher to 3.72% Friday morning, without a GDP to back it up. Still, with the 10-year yield on pace to add to its already strong weekly gains. Meanwhile, U.S. oil prices traded up around 2% Friday as West Texas Intermediate futures rose above $79 a barrel in morning trade. So that's what we see coming out of the markets. A little bit of a brief review coming from CNBC, and then we actually have to get into the down news of the day, which is lame. I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to see this, but it is what it is. From CNBC, S&P 500 and NASDAQ close higher Friday, but fall for a third straight week. From Tanaya Makil and Samantha Subin. The S&P and the NASDAQ rose Friday, but still posted a weekly loss as recession fears continue to batter investor sentiment. The S&P rose 0.6 to 3844.82, while the NASDAQ added 0.2 to close at 10,497.86. The Dow closed 176.44 points higher, or 0.5%, to 33,203.93. The major indices oscillated early in the trade session after the core personal consumption expenditures price index. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge of inflation came in slightly hotter than economists expected on a year-over-year basis, indicating that inflation is sticking despite the Fed's efforts to fight it. The economic numbers announced today highlight the difficulty for investors today, where weak numbers bring recession fears and strong numbers bring Fed fear, said Lois Navalier, founder and chief investment officer of growth investing firm Navalier & Associates. You just can't win right now in the macro numbers, he added. That's why it's now much more of a stock-picking market. But with all the index and ETF traders, even stocks that are executing their business plans, well, can get pushed around meaningfully by associated losers. It's me, I'm associated losers. The S&P ended this week down about 0.2 for the week, posting its third straight weekly decline. The NASDAQ, meanwhile, lost 2% for the week, also down for the third straight week in a row. The Dow was the outperformer, posting a 0.9% gain. So a few things to watch with this, because they're talking about the personal consumption index, which means they're talking about the amount of money that people are spending and the amount of money people are spending in relation to their their baseline stuff, their rent, their heat, their food, etc. It's, from what I understand, and some of the stuff I am learning for the first time, there is some new in economic data that's been coming out with the recession fears coming off here. But from what I understand, this is what people are spending on discretionary items, stuff that they don't necessarily need, but still want to come back out and have. And that is stalling somewhat as we go, as people are focusing more on housing and food and heat and gas and getting back and forth to work and everything else. Which means we are in a pickle right now. People, their wages are going up, but they're spending more of it on their baseline stuff. So it's something to watch for. It's really interesting to see. And like the CNBC article said, excuse me for just a moment, like the CNBC article said, if the numbers start to look good, it's bad for the Fed and inflation and everything else. If people start spending more money, get more jobs, etc. But if people stop spending money and stop buying goods and we go into a tailspin economy, that means that we go into a recession and a lot of people lose their jobs, their abilities to feed their families, and there is wailing and gnashing of teeth. Excuse me. One sec. Oh, excuse me. I'll have to do that again in just a second. My throat's all scratchy. All right, let's look in at the big news of the day, and we've got to start with some breaking news, starting just as I was just as I was getting ready to start organizing the news for the day, and that is the fact that police responded to a shooting incident at the Greenwood Park Mall. You'll remember this is the same mall in Indianapolis where last year, earlier on this year actually, because we're still in 2022, a gunman went in for a mass shooting and was shot for his trouble by somebody who was concealed carrying but wasn't supposed to be, because it was posted in the mall. So even though he broke the law, he did save a bunch of lives. Police respond to shooting from Joel Schrader. Police in Johnson County are investigating a shooting incident at the Greenwood Park Mall. According to Johnson County Sheriff, no injuries were reported from the shooting. Authorities are searching for suspects now. Indianapolis Metropolitan Police have confirmed they are assisting in the search for suspects that are believed to have left the mall. State police are assisting in the sweep of the mall. And that's it. That's the tweet. We do have a little bit more details on this, but this is some actual good news here. Coming from 13 WTHR NBC out of Indianapolis. Shots fired at Greenwood Park Mall. No victims are reported, which is good. I mean, in spite of the fact that it's terrible that there has to be a shooting out there, and we don't have Mr. Hero to come back out and save us again. Help us, Mr. Hero. You're our only hope. In spite of the fact that we don't have any of that right now, we do still see no injuries, so that's a good thing. Everyone's going to go home. Unless they catch up with the people who did the shooting, because those people are not going to go home for Christmas. I promise you. From WTHR.com staff. Police sources tell 13 News they're investigating a possible shooting at the Greenwood Park Mall. Multiple sources confirm that there are no victims hit by the gunfire. The mall is currently locked down and being searched and cleared. The reports of shots fired came just after 5 p.m. I believe that is Eastern Time. Police tell 13 News there was some sort of altercation outside the Dick's and Sears entrance. There's still a Sears in that mall? Seriously? The people fighting fired shots at each other. I want to go there. I want Craftsman tools. What the hell? Police are searching for several suspects, but no one is in custody. Police said more than a dozen agencies responded. Well, again, we've had this happen already. This is the same mall where the 19-year-old who was concealed carrying put the guy down for his trouble. But that also, by the way, excuse my language for a second. Fanning, if Franny's in the room, do the earmuffs right now because I'm about to say this. This whole thing right now set off my bullshit sensors. I'm going to tell you why. I hate the fact that I have to say this even, but this set my bullshit sensors off majorly. Not necessarily because it couldn't happen again in the same place, it absolutely could, but because I noticed that this article came out just a couple days before. Look at the date here. December 21st, 2022. Update at 4 p.m. December 21st, 2022. Which is 2 days and an hour ago. An hour and 25 minutes ago. This got updated again. And yet this didn't get any sort of national news, national headlines. But now that Twitter is talking about the Greenwood Park Mall shooting, people are opening up Google. There may be some more articles at this point, but at the point where they were opening up Google, they saw 2 articles, the ones that we just read, that were current. At the time, they were labeled 42 minutes ago and 28 minutes ago, respectively. And then this article, which is now going to be getting much, much more traction than it would have otherwise. Police, Greenwood Mall shooter, fascinated with the German right, yet no clear motive for attack. That's it. They're going to shove him down as a white supremacist. And this is, again, why I look at this and wonder how many of these things that happen out here. I mean, we talked about Buffalo and Uvalde, where both of those guys were in the same Discord server with a confirmed former FBI agent. And that's not a conspiracy theory. The FBI has confirmed that he was in there. So they were both in the same Discord server with this guy, and they both went out and perpetrated similar attacks within a few days of each other. They had manifestos that were filled with white supremacist kind of stuff and anti-political stuff and all the other fun kind of stuff that goes with that. And they just happened to happen right at about the same time with guns that neither one of the gentlemen could afford on the salaries they were making at the time. And then I look at something like this, where they can, sweep an area. And I understand that it's cold as balls in Indianapolis right now. So people are moving a little bit slower. And they've got to search a lot of buildings because people aren't going out and hiding outside. They're hiding in buildings. They may even still be in the mall at this point. If anything happened. I know Fanning had pointed out that this might have been a car backfire. But all of a sudden now we have traction on the story that the guy last year that was put down for his trouble by a good Samaritan was a Nazi sympathizer. Do you notice it yet? I notice it. From Sarah Nelson. Just over 5 months after a 20-year-old opened fire at a food court in Greenwood Park Mall, shooting 5 people, 3 fatally, the FBI and the city's police said an investigation revealed the gunman had a fascination with firearms, mass shootings, and the German Reich. It took you 5 months to figure that out? They knew the motives, or suspected motives, of the Buffalo and the Uvalde kids within 20 minutes of the shooting going on. It took you 5 months to figure out that this kid's got a Nazi fetish? Oh, that's right. You have to go back and make the life difficult for more January 6 people. And go analyze Twitter for more domestic terrorists that you're creating. In an update about the investigation on Wednesday, Greenwood police said searches of the gunman's social media accounts and interviews with his family, which were probably locked down almost immediately so nobody could go back out there and see them being edited, uncovered the man's fascination with the mass shootings on Reddit and using the German Reich-related usernames. Chief James Eisen said, however, the detective's investigation into the man's internet history showed no communicated plan to carry out the shooting. There's no clear motive as to why the shooter committed this crime or why he chose the time and place to do it. Well, we were having an obsession with mass shooting, and they were happening left and right over and over again. This was within a few months of the Uvalde thing, and while I don't know what he did for employment, like we got the employment reports for the Buffalo shooter and the Uvalde shooter right away. Well, I don't know because this one disappeared because a Good Samaritan stopped this one. While I don't know what his income or anything else was, he was a 20-year-old kid with a 6-hour Model M400 .556 caliber rifle. Let's just go shopping for just a moment. M400 price. New. Because because I guarantee you this thing was new. So, shopping from Sports and Warehouse. This one isn't so far out of reach, but it's still expensive for a 20-year-old kid. $1,099 and 99 US cents plus applicable taxes, fees, background check fees, etc., plus any accessories that he had on there, which they're not listing off there, but these kids rarely go out there without accessories. So this kid either had a really, really good job, or somebody wanted this shooting to happen. There's no clear motive as to why the shooter committed the crime or why he chose the time and place to do it, Eisen stated. Wednesday's report marks the latest update by the FBI and Greenwood Police about the joint law enforcement investigation into the mall shooting. Police said the shooter brought 2 rifles. He had 2 $1,100 rifles, probably a $700 pistol, and more than 100 rounds of ammo to the mall that day at today's prices. He's believed to have entered the food court bathroom just before 5 and remained there for about an hour, minutes before 6 p.m. Left the bathroom, fired 24 rounds with his M400. The attack ended in about 15 seconds when 22-year-old Alicia Dickin, a bystander at the mall armed with a 9mm handgun, shot and killed the gunman. And now we need a reason for everybody to look into the story again and find out that the Greenwich mall shooter, like the Uvalde shooter, like the Buffalo shooter, was into Nazi rhetoric online. Pretty sweet deal that they just suddenly get this shooting 2 days later after this article was put out. Alright, let's talk about, speaking of spending more money than anybody has or will ever have in their lifetime. From CNN, an update from yesterday. House passes $1.7 trillion government spending bill as deadline looms. From Claire Ferran and Kristen Wilson. The House voted on Friday to pass a massive $1.7 trillion spending bill that would fund critical government operations. Yeah, critical operations. A Nancy Pelosi library in San Francisco. Critical operations. An LGBTQIRAGTBOXTAMY, sometimes R, library. And provide emergency aid for Ukraine and natural disaster relief. The bill will go next to President Biden to be signed into law. Government funding is currently set to expire late Friday evening, and lawmakers raced the clock to clear the measure before the deadline. The Senate passed legislation on Thursday, along with a bill to extend the deadline by a week to December 30th to provide enough time for the year-long bill to be formally processed and sent to Biden. The House also approved the 1-week extension, and Biden signed it into law Friday, ensuring there will not be a shutdown. You know, we could have done this for 3 weeks and given the incoming House a chance to look at it. Nah, let's not do something that makes sense. The massive spending bill for fiscal year 2023, that is not a budget, by the way. Reminder. Known on Capitol Hill as an omnibus, provides $772.5 billion for non-defense, domestic programs, and $858 billion in defense funding. No, it's all discretionary funding that they can put to whatever they want. It includes roughly $45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine and NATO allies, and roughly $40 billion to respond to natural disasters like hurricanes, wildfires, and flooding. And every other little piece of pork that they couldn't get past by itself. The other key provisions in the bill include an overhaul of the 1887 Electoral Count Act, aimed at making it harder to overturn a certified presidential election that hadn't been certified yet. The first legislative response to the U.S. Capitol selfie fest, and then President Trump's relentless pressure campaign to stay in power despite his 2020 loss that didn't actually exist. Among other provisions, the spending bill also includes the Secure Act 2.0, a package aimed at making it easier to save for retirement by taking something that jobs offered you willingly to try to recruit and retain you and making it into a law instead, screwing small business and making it harder for people to grow past 10 employees. And a measure to ban TikTok from government devices. The legislative text of the package, which runs more than 4,000 pages, was released in the middle of the night, around 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, leaving little time for rank-and-file lawmakers and the public to review its contents before it came up for a vote in both chambers. I'm willing to bet that poll has it ripped apart right now. And if you want to see every little thing that's in here analyzed and announced, Politically Incorrect on 4chan probably has it displayed for you. Kevin McCarthy criticized the $1.7 trillion bill on the floor speech ahead of the House vote. This is a monstrosity. It's one of the most shameful acts I've ever seen in this body, the California Republicans said, which is, by the way, why they passed it now instead of trying to let your Congress come into it, just so you know. The appropriations process has failed the American public, and there's no greater example of the nail in the coffin of the greatest failure in the one-party rule of the House, the Senate, and the presidency in this bill right here. Oh, excuse me. Pelosi later spoke in favor of the spending bill. Of course she did, because she got a library out of it. While noting that the moment would probably be my last speech as Speaker of the House on the floor, and I'm hoping to make it my shortest. Thank God. The California Democrat took issue with McCarthy's floor comment, saying that she was sad to hear the minority leader earlier say this legislation is the most shameful thing to be seen on the House floor in this Congress. I can't help but wonder, had he forgotten January 6th? I'm going to tell you something right now. Something has changed in the dynamic. Now, while I don't necessarily believe this entirely, the old saying is that for Republicans, every day is July 4th, and for Democrats, every day is April 20th. But I think that has changed now, because now for Democrats, every day is January 6th. So this is headed to the White House. The Hill gives us 5 highlights from the omnibus spending bill Congress just passed. From Era's Folly, we will leave behind all of the introduction for this because we've read it to death, and look at their highlights. They're saying Ukraine Electoral Count Act, which we've talked to death. Excuse me. Healthcare and government programs. Excuse me. Democrats have repeatedly acknowledged the bill doesn't include nearly as much funding for domestic programs as they wanted in their latest best chance at molding government funding, while they still hold control of both chambers. Well, the party has also celebrated some wins. A list of investments in healthcare and research includes $47.5 billion for the National Institutes of Health, paying off Fauci, $9.2 billion for the CDC, and $950 million for the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Democrats have also pointed to the $13.4 billion increase for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, food stamps, because they're probably going to be putting more people on them, a boost of $28.5 billion for child nutrition programs, and new Section 8 housing choice vouchers they say would support over 11,000 additional low-income households, which means they're going to wreck the economy to make 11,000 new additional low-income households, as well as boost maximum Pell Grant Award. Again, they're making more poor people, so they have more voters. While we make critical investments in these bills, the are not perfect. There is much more that I wish that we could have done, including increased funding for Title X and other family planning programs in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe, House Appropriations Chair Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut said in a statement on Thursday. Some add-ons. The 8 amendments adopted include proposals aimed at allowing proceeds from assets seized from sanctioned Russian oligarchs to be put towards Ukrainian aid, which they're not going to be. They're going into somebody's pocket. A measure aimed at strengthening protections for breastfeeding workers. Oh my God. and another dealing with compensation for 9/11 victims. Congress also approved an amendment to provide for the continuation of pay and benefits of Navy Lieutenant Ridge Elkonis. According to Deseret News, his pay was cut while serving a 3-year sentence in prison in Japan after a car accident that killed 2 citizens. You had to put that in a bill like this? Are you kidding? We're done, folks. We're doomed. From the USA Today. I'm going to actually skip over this one because this is a lot of review of what we've seen so far. TikTok ban, Electoral Count Act, Ukrainian aid, defense spending, Secure Act. Yeah, we saw that. Disaster aid, workplace protections. Yeah, we've seen all this. More, getting more people dependent. The Safe and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, which cannabis industry has long sought, also failed to make the $1.7 trillion it would have given cannabis businesses access to additional financial services, including digital transactions. The House had passed the bill in April 2021 for the 5th time. Excuse me. And they're also trying to regulate big tech, because of course they are. All right, Amy Klobuchar talking about what's happening here. Senator Klobuchar on what the $1.7 trillion spending bill means for Minnesotans. Let's listen. Oops, we have no volume.
Provides $50 billion in aid to Ukraine, passed the House this afternoon. First at 4, I spoke with Senator Amy Klobuchar about how much money is coming to Minnesota to make an impact here.
Big picture, what's in it?
I wanted to focus on things that help Minnesotans. And the first was public safety, just because we know we've seen this increase in crime. So it contains significant funding that'll go to the states for hiring police officers. The second thing is infrastructure. We have a number of things that need to be rebuilt in Minnesota. The Kellogg Bridge is 80 years old, and it really needed to be repaired. And so that money's in there. Or making sure where there's bottlenecks in traffic that we redesign roads or do a better job. Funding for things like childcare. I kind of look at, well, we have really low unemployment rate. How can we help people to get back to work? Technical education. So many of our job openings are 1 and 2 year degrees. So that's a priority, as well as childcare, because that's hard for people, especially women, sometimes to go to work if they can't get affordable childcare. We have these jewel of air bases, both in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth. And to be air bases, they need planes. And so there's funding for the C-130s, which is a staple of their fleet of planes. I made one of my big priorities getting the PACT Act passed, which helps our veterans that have been stationed next to burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we got that funding done as well.
I want to switch gears and talk about President Zelensky's address, because I understand you were there. Where is Congress at right now when it comes to continuing to financially support Ukraine?
Strong. His visit was very important, but even leading into that, we had significant resources in the end of year budget. And with the new announcement by the president that we're going to be supplying them with Patriot missile battery, which is basically these missiles that have the ability to hit 5 targets at once 100 miles away. That is going to be important. I thought it was just a joyous moment. Having met with President Zelensky twice this year with Senator Portman, he and I in the dead of night went to Ukraine in the middle of the war, brought back what Zelensky wanted us to communicate publicly to the American people, privately to the administration. As well as right before the war started, I was there. And I got to meet with him one-on-one alone beforehand, which was an extraordinary moment. And his courage, just marking from the first day when he went down to the streets of Kyiv and said the simple 3 words, "We are here." He said those words by his presence again in the capital of the United States. Remember, this is, as he said, not charity, it's an investment. Investment economically, because this country is going to spring back like they always have. They're a huge trading partner of ours. And so there's that. But the second piece of it is investment in democracy.
Locally, the funding would also go towards things like Minneapolis 911 emergency response services and an inpatient mental health unit at Children's Minnesota, among dozens of other things.
TV today. Go to WCCO.com/Pluto to find out.
Yeah, shut up. We don't want to hear a commercial, and we don't want to watch CBS Live. I did want to talk about that, though, and what was there, and I mean, some of the things to point out with that, with especially now being on the Minnesota border. What happens with Klobuchar does take a slightly more direct role in my life. Not very direct, because I very rarely go to Minnesota, except, well, in passing, because where I go, when I go to my parents, it's actually quicker to run through Minnesota temporarily and then jump the river once again. I can stay on this side of the river if I want to, but it's a lot quicker to go the other way. Like, a lot quicker. But with that, and I mean with Klobuchar, and Ron is pointing it out, definitely that this is a person who was indeed very much in favor of getting additional weapons to the Ukraine in the midst of the Crimea crisis. So there is that aspect to her and her resume, but there's also the I mean, this is a woman who is, wow, that sucks for that Honda. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a Toyota, not a Honda. They're all Japanese. They all look the same. But yeah, I mean, this is a person who's, oh, this is going to be great for Minnesota, and really? I don't believe that it is. But they're going to try to tout this and say that they actually represented their people, and they didn't. But that's what we have for that. Let's grab one from Fox, pointing out the thing that nobody else is pointing out. Media outlets ignore national debt in coverage of massive spending bill. From David Rutz. Biden's spending bill would add to national debt much more than it looks on paper, Maya McGinnis says. Media coverage of the massive $1.7 trillion government spending bill passed through Congress this week has almost entirely avoided mention of the nation's more than $31 trillion national debt. And a part of that is because they are going to be increasing taxes on you, just so you know. That's pretty much a given at this point. MSDNC and CNN have largely sidestepped the issue because there's a Democrat as the president, while discussing the package, which passed at bipartisan support in the Senate as 18 Senate Republicans joined the chamber's Democrats. Just 9 House Republicans voted for it as well on Friday, and President Biden will sign it in the coming days. But mentions of the national debt were hard to find in recent weeks. Now, Fox, I do want to point one thing out. Don't try to feign innocence on this, because you didn't say a word about the national debt when we were doing the CARES Act and the HEROES Act, both of which were major contributors to the national debt. So when your guy was in office, you didn't say a word about this. But now that it's a guy that you don't like, or have to feign that you don't like, you've got not word one to say about it. And I wonder why that is. David Jolly, a political analyst for MSDNC, mentioned the Trump admin's awful record on increasing the national debt during a discussion about the spending bill. Jolly, who now openly supports Democrats, also said the House Republicans, as they take the majority, will not play nicely when it comes to raising the debt limit. According to a search of the term national debt on Gravian Media, there were 3 mentions of whether the new Congress will raise the national debt ceiling on CNN this month, and Rep. John Yarmouth, in a separate MSDNC appearance, said Democrats should try to raise the debt ceiling before Republicans take the majority, while admitting it obviously hasn't done anything to curtail the national debt. So, yeah, we're not going to be talking about any of that, unfortunately. Not until DeSantis or Trump are in office. Then it'll be the top of every news channel. The national debt increased by $1,000. They're destroying the economy. An interesting add-on to this here from CNBC: millions at risk of losing Medicaid in the spring under the provision tucked inside the $1.7 trillion federal spending bill. From Spencer Kimball. Millions of people who are enrolled in the Medicaid public health insurance program during the pinko pox pandemic could lose their coverage in the spring of their state if their state determines they no longer meet the program's eligibility requirements. Enrollment in Medicaid surged 30% to more than 83 million people. Jeez. My God, why? But don't worry, our economy is great. During the pandemic, that's almost a third of this country is on Medicaid. Why? Ask yourself that. That number should be in the low 5 figures. During the pandemic, after Congress basically barred states from kicking people out of the program for the duration of the federal public health emergency declared in the response to the pinko pox. Tucked inside a more than 4,000-page, $1.7 trillion bill that funds the federal government through September is a provision that would eliminate the Medicaid coverage protections from the public health emergency. Instead, states could start terminating recipients' coverage in April 2023 if they no longer meet the program's eligibility requirement. Guess what's going to happen as soon as this happens? Guess, you already know. Colorado, Illinois, Michigan, maybe Wisconsin, it'll depend. I don't think it will, actually, because I think that Evers is completely neutered at this point. Let's see, who else? New Mexico, New York State, Massachusetts, California, Oregon, Washington State will all come in and say, yes, no, please stay on Medicaid for as long as you would like. We will find the funds, and if we cannot find the funds, we will get them from the federal government. While Wyoming, Texas, Iowa, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida start kicking people off. Bet me. Bet me. Bet me. And then we get to hear evil Republican governor. Bet me. These people know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. As of April 1st, Medicaid agencies conducting redeterminations for people enrolled in the program can result in termination of Medicaid coverage, said Jack Rollins, director of the federal policy at the National Association of Medicaid Directors. And then they get to come out and say Death Santis and Abbott the murderer and crap like that. Whereas right now, since the pinko pox public health emergency started, states were not allowed to terminate the Medicaid coverage. Congress has to pass the legislation by Friday in order to avoid a government shutdown. Pretty sweet deal. The news media gets to rally against Republicans and praise how compassionate Democrats are. What a joke. From Insider. Most House members don't show up in person to vote on the $1.7 trillion government funding bill. From Brian Metzger. That's right. Everybody voted by proxy because they tried to get and beat the storm. To give you an idea on how huge the proxy vote is. And by the way, they love pointing out the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene voted by proxy herself, even though she's railing against it. It's like if I say that I hate roads. I still drive on roads, but I rail against the funding mechanism that involves the federal government using federal highway funds and taxes to try to force states to bend to their whims. House representatives voted by a 225 to 201 to 1 margin to pass a nearly $1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill on Friday that will fund the government through most of the 2023. Yeah, we know all that. But most members of the House weren't there for the vote, at least in person. More than half of them, 226, voted by proxy. As of Friday, 235 members of Congress had signed proxy letters designating other members of Congress to cast votes on their behalf. attesting that they were unable to physically attend the proceedings in the House chamber due to the ongoing public health emergency. No, it was so they could get on the plane and be home for Christmas and beat the storm. Alright, what else do we have? Some more stuff from Congress. This time going back onto the January 6th committee. Thomas Massey pointing out, January 6th committee to adjourn without fulfilling a year-old promise to release the EPS transcript. Did you really think that they were going to do that, Massey? I know you didn't. I know you want to go back and talk a big show right now, but I know you knew better. I know you knew better. The one person on film telling people to go into the Capitol multiple times disappears from the FBI list and is not even mentioned in the 845 page final report. Shocker. Shocker there. From the New York Post, Sam Bankman-Fried's ex Carolyn Ellison faced 110 years before plea deal. Does she get conjugals in those 110 years? Asking for a friend. Disgraced FTX crypto mogul Sam Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend Carolyn was facing up to 110 years in prison before she agreed to cooperate with the federal government. Her plea agreement shows. The former Alameda hedge fund CEO pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges in an agreement signed on Monday. The total maximum sentence of incarceration on counts 1 through 7 of the information is 110 years imprisonment. The document filed by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York said. The agreement also indicates that Ellison and FTX co-founder Gary Wang had agreed to cooperate fully with the feds in exchange for which they will likely get a much lighter sentence. Yeah, they're throwing somebody else under the bus. No, Arvold. I'm thinking at the same time. I'm thinking outside the box here. However, experts say there's no way to know just how much time Ellison could serve, which could even be no time at all, which is more likely what's going to happen. Again, even with the lawyers involved, they probably threw a ridiculous number at her to say, flip on Bankman-Fried, say whatever we want, whether or not it's true. Otherwise, you're going up for 110 years. So, now she's not. 9 times out of 10, this homely little thing doesn't even see a day inside a jail cell. Some news on the weather that's currently plaguing everywhere around me in Wisconsin, but not here. From the Daily Mail, at least 5 killed on treacherous roads, and more than 12,500 flights canceled and delayed as once-in-a-generation snowpocalypse, which is not even close to what it is, by the way. At least if you're here in western Wisconsin. Begins to batter almost every state. 6 governors call a state of emergency amid sub-zero temperatures and whiteout conditions. Now, I will admit, it is cold as absolute balls here right now. I got up this morning, it was minus 10 on the base temperature, plus wind chill on top of it. And I went out to go start my truck before work. And I'm going to tell you right now, she was not happy. That battery was not happy with me. It started, but it wasn't happy about it. From Anita Beehole, are you serious? Is that really her name? And Alyssa Guzman for DailyMail.com. At least 5 people have been killed as a treacherous once-in-a-generation winter system pummels central and eastern parts of the U.S., with at least 6 governors calling for states of emergency. Hopewell declared a state of emergency and issued a traffic ban on part of Interstate 90 beginning on Friday at 6 a.m. due to the incoming storm's expected brutality. She joins at least 5 other states ahead of the frigid, powerful snowstorm moving across the U.S. through Friday and expected to hit multiple states with heavy snow, damaging winds, freezing rain, and dangerous bitter cold. It's made with honey. It soothes your throat. You guys seriously, by the way, haven't tried this yet? And you can find it? Sprecker's cream soda. It's delicious. This is not a paid promotion either, by the way. I wish I was getting Sprecher money. Holy crap. Or at least getting a supply of their soda to drink on stream. If I was getting a Sprecher sponsorship, there would be a glass bottle in my hand, or even the aluminum cans, by the way. The aluminum cans are good too. But there would be a glass bottle in my hand every single day. And that is no lie. I love this stuff. But this is not a paid promotion. And just in general, enjoy drinking from a glass bottle too. I said the cans are even good too, but I really enjoy drinking from a glass bottle. I might actually try to make some beer. Probably not here. I'm probably going to see if I can move into a new place, but I want to make some beer. I'll spell it out for you, Quest. They make beer too, but I've never tried it. I'd like to. I would be interested in that. Now that I don't work every single Saturday, I can maybe actually have a sip of something on a Friday night. What a novel concept that is. Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Georgia, and North Carolina have all issued the emergency orders that, in part, activate their emergency response and operations plans. Meanwhile, it is -7 in western Wisconsin, and we just started putting sweatshirts on. Yeah, one of my friends was in a shelter, briefly. He's out of it now, thankfully. And he was in a shelter in Baltimore, too. I can't even imagine. The only thing that I feel bad about with my credit right now, especially, was the fact that I didn't have a house. Now that I got a chance to move, I'm glad that I didn't have a house at the time when I found out about Spartacus. But I'm going to tell you right now, I really felt bad that I didn't have a place that I could put him, because I would have driven down to Baltimore with a trailer, found where all of his stuff was in storage, and dragged his ass out of there. Excuse my language. If I had a place to put him. Which is one of the reasons I'm actually trying to get some property right now. For in the unlikely event that any one of my friends ever does have an emergency like that again, I have a place to put that person. Excuse me. 1 second. Man, oh Friday. That is rough. All right. The wrapping up in blankets is interesting. Whiteout cyclone from a cop dash cam. With his lights on just so people can see him coming down the road. And get out of the way. And yeah, for the most part it's all moved out of here, but we're having high winds right now, which means all the stuff that was here is probably going to wind itself back up on the road. Alright, we got one about Lindsey Graham. Graham implores Biden to go to the border amid migrant crisis. From Alex Gangatano. It's like half and half with Lindsey. Half the time I think he's a warmongering bastard, and half the time I agree with him. Senator Lindsey Graham. Wow, that cleared out my throat in a hurry. Oh, excuse me. Called on Biden to get his butt out of the White House and go to the U.S. southern border, which has drawn fresh attention as the end of Title 42 immigration policy hangs in the balance. Sugar, it's so unconscionable for him to not go to the border and listen to the agents and the people trying to control the border. I got a friend named Rico, and I swear he's just a friend waiting down there to come into this country. And he's totally going to be going through the legal way, and he's just totally a friend. And nothing else is going to happen there, even on his dreamy little brown body. What life is like along the southern border, he said in Fox News on Thursday. The fact that he doesn't go shows me that he's so disconnected, Sugar, and he does not give one good goddamn. Get your ass out of the White House. Oh, man ass. and go to the border, Graham added. Biden has been under fire from Republicans for months because he has not visited the southern border amid the migrant crisis. Title 42, implemented at the start of the pandemic, allows for migrants to be quickly expelled at the border without asylum proceedings. It was set to end on Wednesday. The Supreme Court issued an admin stay to temporarily halt the policy's end after 19 Republican states initiated a court action. The Senate on Thursday voted on an amendment to the end-of-year spending package to maintain Title 42, which failed 10 to 87 despite broad GOP support for the policy. The Senate then advanced the $1.7 trillion monstrosity of a spending package that the House will vote on Friday morning. Graham urged Biden to reinstate Title 42, warning that without it, more migrants will flood the border. And Title 42 is about to expire, sugar. President Biden could reinstate Title 42 deportation authority for everybody except for Pedro, who's going to be coming to my house up here in North Carolina, South Carolina, I don't even remember. With the stroke of a pen, every Democrat voted against extending it in the Senate. Every Republican voted for it. When Title 42 goes away as a deportation tool, you're going to double the number of illegal immigrants coming into the country and maybe double the number that are coming. That's not family friendly. I can't say that one. Wow, I cannot say that one. In about a week. Oh man, I offended myself. Wow. Oh, I offended myself with that one. Anyway, moving on. I got way into the Lindsey Graham character for that one. Way too far into that character. And I will issue my typical gripe about Title 42. Remember, with Republicans, they think that Title 42, which is explicitly about the pinko pox, should go on forever in spite of the fact that they think that Title 40 or the pinko pox is over. The aftermath, the government overreach program from it, should go on forever. And while Democrats think that the pinko pox is going to go on forever, they think that Title 42 is the one provision of prevention from the pinko pox that should go away. And everything else should be put up and hammered home 25 times harder. Wow, I can't believe I just about said that. Wow. Wow, I offended myself. I didn't even say it and I knew it was coming. Alright. From the New York Post, before I get demands from Quest Fanning to come back out and say it, a bit of UK news. One is going to be you get what you deserve, and one is going to be the reason why they get what they deserve in the UK. And I am looking at the UK as a collective at this point. I know I don't typically do that, but UK woman arrested for silently praying across from abortion clinic. Terrifying. From Elizabeth Carpin. Conservatives and free speech activists on Twitter railed against a recent video depicting police interrogating and ultimately arresting a pro-life woman who was silently praying outside a UK abortion clinic. Those who watched the woman's arrest after admitting she was praying in my head were appalled. Some had claimed this was proof that Great Britain had become a dystopia. You still need proof of that? After these last couple of years, are you serious? The woman who was arrested, Isabel Vaughan Spruce, is the director of the UK March for Life. According to the Alliance Defending Freedom UK, Vaughan Spruce was standing near the BPAS Robert Clinic in Kings Norton, Birmingham, in an area called ADF, UK called the Censorship Zone, when police approached her after an onlooker complained that she might be praying outside an abortion facility. According According to ADF UK, Birmingham authorities have established buffer zones near abortion clinics, making it illegal for people to engage in behavior disapproving or approving of abortion. This includes graphic verbal or written means, prayer, or counseling. So basically, you're coming out here, standing in front of there, doing this. And I did say a prayer while I did that, by the way. I prayed for a quick release for her, and a stunning rebuke from heaven for the UK government. But for doing that, they saw fit for her to be arrested rather. Oi, mate! Oi! You got a license to pray like that? Oi! I think we're gonna have to talk to Parliament about that. You're gonna have to come down with me. But honestly, in a collective, the UK gets what it deserves too. From the Blaze. This was Thursday. This would be Thing That I Hate. God Rest You, Queer and Questioning, altered lyrics for iconic Christmas carols sung at UK church. Ideology behind it blasted as woke and unbiblical. From Dave Urbanski. A UK church is raising eyebrows for performing the iconic Christmas carol, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, with altered lyrics that reflect a woke, unbiblical ideology. All Saints with Holy Trinity in Loughborough used the updated carol, which removes the reference to Satan as well as Christ as Savior, and instead refers to queer and questioning women who by men have been erased. The network added the altered lyrics were printed in the order of a Monday carol service to feature new and inclusive words for traditional hymn. I will read the hymn, but I will sing the original version, just as a palate cleanser. Even, yes, with a little bit of crap up in my throat. Whether or not it's the stuff coming out of my lungs because I smoked for a little bit while I moved, or whether it's because somebody at work passed the plague on to me. Red. God rest you, also women, who by men have been erased. Through history ignored and scorned, defiled and displaced. Remember that your stories, too, are held within God's grace. The network noted there's more where that came from. God rest you, queer and questioning. Your ancient hearts be still. Believe that you are deeply known and part of God's goodwill. For all to live as one in peace, the global dream fulfilled. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. And that's of course not how it goes. I just decided to do this on the spot, by the way. So, as we all know, gotta breathe a little bit. Still struggling a little bit. God rest ye merry gentle. Okay, that's gotta go while I'm doing this. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day, to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. I am probably missing the tune so bad. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day, to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Suck it, UK. I did that with a sore throat. Eat me. Which is probably not something I should say after singing a religious song. Excuse me. All right. From the Daily Wire, are Republicans planning an end run around McCarthy's bid for Speaker? From Joseph Curl. Kevin McCarthy wants to be Speaker of the House, not an unusual desire, as it's just a tiny step up from his current position of Minority Leader. But unfortunately for him, he might have just enough enemies to keep him from wielding the gavel. A candidate must win a simple majority, 218 if all 435 members are present, which gives very little leeway for defectors. Republicans won 222 seats, the Democrats 213 in the midterms, with 2 races still unsettled. Already 5 Republicans have said they won't back McCarthy, and now there's a new report that Republicans might do an end run around him and pick the GOP's number 2 leader in the House, Steve Scalise. That wouldn't be the worst decision in the world. I have issues with Steve Scalise, but he is miles ahead of Kevin McCarthy. I do still have issues with him. I still say that my vote goes behind Massey, but that's not a bad choice. That's like a B- choice. I could see that. I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't dislike it. We got just a couple more here left, and we'll do live chat after this here. Political reports that a group of lawmakers have quietly approached Scalise about running for Speaker if McCarthy comes up short. Steve, just be ready, one member currently backing McCarthy told the Liberal political website late last month. After it was clear Republicans had taken control of the House, Scalise ran unopposed for Majority Leader and won easily. The member said he could be a good consensus leader if things don't go well for Kevin. I think that they should just say the hell with Kevin, kick Kevin out, and go for that one. I'm 99% okay with that. Maybe a little bit less. Let's say 85% okay with that. I'm 85% okay with Steve Scalise being the Speaker of the House. The situation is dicey. Scalise isn't openly running for the position because it's dangerous to announce a challenge to the powerful McCarthy. If someone tries and fails, the member could be punished for their temerity, which is why we should not let McCarthy be the Speaker. That right there is the reason why. Better than Biggs, I can tell you that. If someone were to come out and we don't deliver enough votes to stop McCarthy, that there would be a real potential for a blowback, Andy Biggs recently told The Hill. They want to be very careful. So I think people are interested. They've expressed it to some of us, and I think people are being wary. I would be about 85% okay with Scalise as Speaker. Again, my choice is still Massey. That's not a bad idea. In fact, I don't know if any of you get this video out to your representatives, your Republican representatives in your particular state. That's not a bad idea at all. You should consider that. I don't know if you can make it happen, but you should consider that. So, yeah, let's do that. All right, a little bit of Elon news and some Bloomberg news. Is Ron Helton still here? Because we know that's his favorite politician with his favorite publication. KTZed missed me singing, which is probably a good thing because still a little bit of sore throat going on here. Elon's Twitter obsession isn't the core reason for Tesla stock's plunge. From Chris Isidore. A popular misconception has emerged about Elon and Tesla. The mega billionaire's love affair with Twitter is the main reason Tesla shares have lost so much value this year. But Tesla's steep stock sell-off this week proved the problems at Musk's car company go well beyond Twitter. Even as Musk signals he may give up his CEO title at Twitter, investors became concerned that the outlook for Tesla sales and profit is taking a turn for the worse. A sign of the weakening demand, Tesla has announced a rare sale. The company offered 2 rebates for buyers who take a delivery of a vehicle before the end of the year, initially offering a $3,750 discount. Earlier this month, Tesla then doubled that rebate to $7,500 on Thursday. Tesla clearly is starting to see demands crack in China and the US at a time when EV competition is increasing across the board, said Dan Ives, tech analyst at Wedbush Securities and a Tesla bull who cut his price target for the stock on Friday from $250 to $175. The price cuts that Tesla enacted was the straw that broke the camel's back on the stock. Another reason Tesla is sinking, the US economy could tip into a recession next year, hurting car sales, Musk said on Twitter Spaces call on Thursday. He foresees the economy to be in a serious recession in 2023. And then CNN's going to go on to lie to you about what's happening here. Here's what's happening with Tesla. And a lot of this is going to be happening with the entire car market. But a lot of this is going to be EV specific. Now, you go to, we talked about with Toyota yesterday, with Ford, with General Motors, even though they're trying to be we're an all EV company by, what did they say, like 2025 or something stupid like that? Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, all vehicles, all manufacturers that offer electric vehicles, but that's not their bread and butter. One of the uncomfortable truths between the economy and between the buying power of the economy, and also including in the fact that these are, at this point, unproven vehicles. It's not brand new technology, but there's no long term of it, and we're even starting to see now, when we have minus 10 degrees in the winter, where the EVs are not stacking up and handling the cold. The batteries can't go more than X amount of miles, and it's like a half of what they could when it was nice outside. I said from the beginning, the cold is going to be a hard sell for these kinds of things. But Tesla is electric car and nothing else. At this point, I hate to tell you leftoids this, except for obvious economic reasons for people who can't afford them, because there are a lot of college students who are driving a cheap gray Honda that want to have a Tesla. There are a lot of college students out there like that. They're driving an old 91 Accord, probably not a 91 anymore, but an old Accord or something, and wishing for that Tesla but can't afford it right now. But for the most part, anybody who wants an EV at this point has an EV. And yes, also, by the way, the competition in the market. 5 years ago, Tesla was the only game in town. Now, almost every manufacturer out there has, at the very least, a hybrid option, but almost every one of them has an electric vehicle option as well. It's not a long-term thing. Now, if Tesla had started and had a gas car on its line, A, it wouldn't be able to be called Tesla anymore, but B, they probably would be able to hold up some of the cracks in their armor. But yeah, at this point, everybody who wants an EV that can afford an EV already has an EV. Some of them might trade and buy a new one, but it's not looking good right now. And that's one of the things with new technology. It always is. At some point, everybody who wants one has one. And then the valuation takes off until the next new thing comes off. So, I think that's a big part of what's happening with Tesla. I don't think it has anything to do with Twitter. But I would not be holding Tesla stock right now either, and this is not official financial advice. Yeah, carbon capture technology though, but we can't use that because we can't control people with that. All right, now we've got one here talking about Michael Bloomberg, Ron Helton's favorite politician from his favorite publication. Exclusive, Bloomberg eyes Wall Street Journal parent Dow Jones and WAPO. Because apparently Bloomberg isn't doing well enough and he has to buy something even more left than what he has already. Michael Bloomberg, the billionaire businessman and media mogul, is interested in acquiring either Wall Street Journal parent company Dow Jones or the Washington Post, a source familiar with the thinking told Axios. Excuse me. Bloomberg wants to expand his media empire and sees Dow Jones as his ideal fit, but he would buy the Post if Jeff Bezos were interested in selling, the source said. A combination of Bloomberg and Dow Jones would create an unparalleled business news behemoth. Bloomberg, the source notes, would be interested in a potential acquisition of either property, but Dow Jones, the publisher of financial titles such as Wall Street Journal, Barron's, and MarketWatch, would be a stronger target. Well, that's right, because he would be taking, if he got Washington Post, a left-leaning rag, and turning it into an even lefter-leaning rag. Wall Street Journal is somewhat center to possibly a couple degrees to the right. Same with MarketWatch, by the way. Barron's I don't know enough about. Bloomberg is close to Dow Jones parent News Corp's owner, Rupert Murdoch, and believes efforts to merge News Corp and its sister company Fox Corporation will fail, creating a possible opening. At least one activist investor has said that they would rather News Corp spin off parts of its business, either its real estate platform or Dow Jones, to unlock value for investors. Well, we'll see, but it's just billionaires trading money around at this point. There's no reality to any of this anymore. All right, let's look in the live chat for the day. So, let's get this up here. We're actually quite busy compared to the last couple days, so I'm quite happy to see that. Fanning, I'm actually probably going to go pass out as soon as I'm done here, but I will touch base with you tomorrow. I know you got a big Christmas party, so I'll see if I can touch base with you a little bit tomorrow, possibly on the drive up to my parents. Because I know you want to take some of the echo out of here, and I do appreciate that, by the way. I am uncomfortable with getting gifts, but I do appreciate it regardless. And I can take it as a business donation, not a gift. But let's look in first at what we had for the week. On Monday, our top chatters were KTZed, Ron Hilton, Randy Crush Saga, Kat McGee, Do Ninja Flirt, and Grant. Tuesday, our top chatters were Beam Me Up Mr. Scott, excuse me, Ron Hilton, Grant, and A. Gaines P. Wednesday gave us Grant, Arvolt, Blind Fear, and Gaines. Yesterday, a little bit busier, Luke Wee, Izzy Busy, Grant, Ron Hilton, Randy Crush Saga, Saint, and A. Gaines P. One sec. All right, today, our top chatters. Quest Fanning, good evening, folks. Did they get mauled? That was a bad joke, Quest, and you should feel bad about that. Luke Wee is here. What a cold night. Yes, Luke Wee is on the other side of the border and experiencing the same cold that I am right now. Pointing out that I was muted after starting off because, you know, I've only been doing this for 3 years, and I'm definitely not a professional by any chance. Quest says, Holly Night, Batman. I'm up to live. Welcome. 2 scoops of iced cream. Nailbender is here with the eyes. Suck it down, vitamin C it is. Yes, there is a pint of Quick Trip orange juice in my fridge right now that is not going to see morning. Quest got a 17% pay raise for 2023. I got a... what did I get? A 22% pay raise for 2023, but I had to completely move across the state to get it. Nailbender, vitamin C, is that what they're calling it now? Nice. Fanning says, my brother-in-law said the guy Elon Kirstad is on a space at per New York Post story was his neighbor. Quest, did I just mention the same thing 3 times? I'm drowsy, sorry. Ron Helton is here. Merry Christmas, Ron Helton. Quest says, so this person did a better job of shooting people. Suspects plural. There's almost never a second shooter. Yeah, this whole thing stinks, by the way. They sold the Craftsman brand to Lowe's, I believe. I'll have to look at a Lowe's. I didn't know that. There was no Lowe's in Janesville, so I didn't go there for a long time. Excuse me. Well, that just ruins the surprise of what I'm getting for Christmas. Yeah, unfortunately, until I pass the background check, you'd have to go find the FFL dealer, and because it's cross state lines. Grant is here to say Merry Christmas. Thank you, Grant. Not doing that one. But that's a quote from a movie, which means I've never seen it. Ron Helton, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Ron Helton says, Klobuchar is a warmonger. She was with Insane and Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham! In 2014 and 15 when they were promising the weapons to use against Russia. So this war has been planned for a long time. Rice burner, says Ron Helton. Leftists assume that the rich owe it to us when they aren't made to pay anger us directed at the rich instead of those digging the hole. I think I got what you're saying with that. Ron Helton hasn't seen a doctor since 2013. To see one, I'd have to drive about 40 or 50 miles to the city to get one that I could afford. Operation, let's go find a doctor for Ron Helton. That takes cash. I try to walk at least once or twice a week, about 3 miles. I need to get back to fasting. Other than dealing with fixing my finger after it got crushed in 17, Ath in the chat, I rarely too go to the doctor. I couldn't afford insurance at my last job, so I didn't go to the doctor either for a long time. I had first shoe, now this chick. Huh, why not both? Her OnlyFans sucks. Where is this? I have to find this now. Ron says some homeless guy died of exposure in Oklahoma City. I don't understand that. They have a lot of shelters there. Interesting. Sprecher's, yes. Sprecher's cream soda. One of my favorites. Arvold says you can buy their syrups and make scissor with Sprecher's. Yeah, the glass bottles come in little 4-packs. If you can find them, I recommend them. Absolutely. And again, this is not a paid endorsement. I just like them that much. You'll get assaulted in the regular in the shelter. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Arvold says, be safe. This bomb cyclone is no joke. I think most of it has moved past here. We're actually supposed to be in the 40s again next week. And rain, but 42 degrees for a high, I think, by Wednesday. Here in New York City, the mayor is pushing for legal changes that would make it easier to force the homeless under auspices of presumed mental illness into shelters in the harsh winter. Well, that's what you should be doing. Get them in on mental illness and then try to both treat them and get them off the road. He's not going to penetrate, exploit the holes in the wall. Plus says, even Newsom is decrying the lack of extension of Title 42. Yeah, it's a good thing you missed it. It was not family friendly. Let's see. If they were serious about man-made climate change, CO2 emissions, they would ground a lot of airplane flights which inject CO2 directly into the atmosphere. But this is all just smoke and mirrors while they rob us. Yes, it is. I think he figured it out. Ron says that we should dissolve relationships with these commies, the EU, and the rest of the UN. Well, the EU is no longer including Britain, so there's that. Un-UN. Thank you for your kind words while I was singing with a sore throat. Arvel, I can't watch every night, but I do watch replays. Well, and thank you for that. I don't take attendance, so KTZed is here. Just missed me singing. Ron, yep, I'm here. Mini Mike is an ass. Better than me singing, I'm sure. The recession's already started. Volvo's electric brand is called Polestar. Polestar. Arvel, It's not an official recession. Quest says Porsche is a new synthetic gasoline creation process that creates a carbon-neutral cycle. The creation takes carbon out of the air, and it can burn in any combustion engine. Better solution. Right, but again, that doesn't control people. We were talking about that in the Off Hours Discord earlier. We have and have had carbon capture technology forever, which we can make more fuel from. We can pull it out of the air, scrub it, make it into a new fuel. But you see, a part of that is that doesn't control the people. That actually solves the problem. It doesn't allow government intervention and control in every aspect of your life. Quest is coding a BL star tilde RGE project as we speak. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to me while you work. Yeah, I'm a chatty Cathy. Yes, you are. Would you want to do an episode of Crime Land with me? Is that something that heads would like to see? I would. Let me get a little bit more settled and figure out what the topic is, and yeah, I would love to. Ron, I'm still having trouble getting here on the time this week. Lots of errands and chores to do around here this week. Thought I was going to be punctual tonight, and then I started dinner. Well, again, I don't take attendance, so... Yeah, even if it's just add on for color commentary, plus to help with your boomer tech. Huh, rice burner. No, Katie does a lot of work to prep for the show and preps guests as well. She's starting to see what I did every week when I was getting guests every week, and I think she got an idea of what I did. And then also even for KTZed Redemption. So, yeah, I admire the work that KTZed is doing for... I'm actually a little sad that I haven't been able to be live for a lot of the stuff lately, just with the move and everything. Like, I didn't... For the Crystal Kaiser one, I got the alert and I said, okay. I got the alert and I'm going to go, okay, well, I'm going to get done with what I'm doing. I'll get done and I'll still be able to get here for the last 3/4 of the Crystal Kaiser story. And then I got in my truck after I got everything loaded up, got in there, settled in for a nice 2-hour drive, or 2.5-hour drive, and realized that we were coming in and she was getting ready to sign off. And I felt bad, because I know that she wanted me to be there for that. Yeah, you can see there's still moving boxes behind me. Although I might be moving again in a few weeks. Let's see, I literally just finished an hour-long tech lesson before I jumped over here. Good job. Way to hone your craft. All right, and with that, we're done. Oops. Hey, look at what I found when I was looking for my solo webcam. That's not what I wanted. Speaking of KTZed. All right, we're done. Let's head out of here for the weekend. All right, so thanks everybody who came by and made the week extra special here. We had a lot of chat coming in here, and again, one of the big things with that is the more you guys chat, then the more we start to settle into a routine. Again, I know I shook up your world when I stopped doing this in the morning, but I had to go and get myself a bunch more money too, so there's that. But as we'll start to get in here, we'll start to get some more people, and the more you guys chat, the better the algorithm does, and the better it does to promote me as well. Which I do want to do more for the chat because of that during the week, but I know that we kind of got to get in and get done and get going, which is what we were doing with the morning contemporary too, but just to try to get the algorithm to carry us up. But we'll play it by ear. There's going to be another move in the near future. I'm going to go look at a house after the holiday, but for you and yours, go spend some time with your family. I am 99% sure that I'm going to be doing that tomorrow, so there obviously, and I said there's not going to be another game stream until the first of the year. Although, I might do one for New Year's Eve, because I don't really know anybody around here yet, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear as we go, but we're done. We're out of here. We will see you here next time on Contemporary, Monday evening, for evening news, headlines, finance, and some culture as well. Definitely looking forward to that, and hearing about what you guys got for Christmas. If you are on the Twitch side, stick around. We are going rating. Otherwise, we will see you here next time for more news, more Contemporary. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. God rest ye merry gentlemen, O holy night, The stars are brightly shining. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.